Not everyone can abandon everything in search of something as vague as inspiration. But To-Ann did. She left the city on a gray, ashen day, without warning, without farewells to friends or colleagues. She left behind only a short note on social media. "I need silence. I will return when there is something worth writing." The bus rattled along rugged roads, past layered hills, before quietly dropping her at a small roadside stop by the sea. The salty wind lashed fiercely, as if trying to knock down anyone unaccustomed to it. From there, she had to walk quite a distance to reach a place called Hồi Long Village, a name that sounded as though it had drifted out of a legend. This place was completely isolated. No phone signal, no internet, no guest houses, no cars. Only moss-covered tiled houses, muddy red dirt roads when it rained, and silent people who seemed as though time itself had long forgotten them. They spoke little, watched much, and no one asked why she had come. Anne rented an old house perched on a hillside. 2 stories, rotting wood, sagging tiles, walls overgrown with yellowed, mossy vines. Beautiful in a haunted way. Someone warned her that there were old rumors, that buried under the yard lay an unexploded bomb from the Japanese War. She only gave a cold laugh. Better to die from a bomb than from the death of words. It took 3 days to clean. Dust, cobwebs, moldy stench, even strange stains on the ceiling. She stripped them all away. When finished, the house became bright, and oddly enough, so silent. Upstairs, she discovered an empty room. Nothing but a pale green curtain swaying in the breeze that slipped through a round window. Though it lacked furniture, she loved it. She often sat cross-legged on the floor, back against the wall, eyes closed, listening to the sea's distant echo. Something in that room calmed her and unnerved her at the same time. On the first night, she dreamed of a thin mist creeping from the woods behind the house, sliding toward the window. In her dream, the green curtain stirred, then parted, revealing a blurred face. Neither clearly male, neither alive nor dead. She woke at dawn, convincing herself just a dream. But the dreams kept repeating, sometimes the same, sometimes shifting slightly, yet always beginning with the sound of typing, the same clacking she heard whenever she wrote at night. Oddly, when she was actually typing, the sound was normal, but when she stopped, it continued, even when her computer was shut. She told herself it was occupational stress, her nerves playing tricks. Until one night, smoking by the window of the empty room, she heard a whisper, faint, like wind teasing her neck. "Un-ni?" She spun around. No one, only the crescent moon dangling over the sea and treetops swaying against the wind, rustling with unnatural sound. From then on, she wrote, as if an unseen hand pulled words from the depths of her mind. The story poured forth endlessly, a tragic love during the Republican era, amid chaos and war. In her mind appeared a clear image, a girl in a black cheongsam, standing silently behind the green curtain, her eyes dark, bottomless as an abyss. She did not know why this image clung to her, haunting her, as if she had seen it somewhere long ago. She told no one of the strange happenings, nor did she leave the village, though she had packed her bags more than once. Something kept her there. On some nights, while writing, she would glance up. The green curtain stirred, though the window was latched shut. Once, she found faint footprints on the dusty floorboards of the empty room, small footprints leading to the window, then vanishing. One night, dozing restlessly, she woke to a soft sound. At the door of her room stood a figure, the cheongsam and the curtain blending like a painted blur, but the eyes were too real, too near, too deep. She switched on the light. Nothing. Only the curtain swaying gently, though the glass window was sealed. From where came the wind? Or was it ever wind at all? Her hand froze midair, then slowly lowered the curtain. From that day, she no longer tried to explain what was happening. Everything seemed to move in an invisible rhythm, an unspoken pact between the living and someone who had never left. By day, she lived like any villager, buying goods, cooking, wandering along the windy shore. But at night, when the moon rose and dew beaded the round window, she climbed to the second floor, sat before her computer or a blank page, and continued writing lines that flowed from nowhere. Sometimes in her own hand, sometimes she awoke to find pages filled in writing not her own, fine, delicate, old-fashioned, like someone's handwriting from long ago. One night, rain fell hard and cold. The wind screamed through the trees like muffled sobs. While Annie wrote, the power cut out. Everything sank into suffocating darkness. But there was still light, a pale blue glow. Spilling down from upstairs, her heart pounded. Hand trembling, she grabbed a flashlight and climbed the creaking stairs. At the top, the glow was not inside the room, but outside the round window. She pressed against the cold frame, peered out. A figure stood in the yard, amid storm and rain, clad in a black chongsong, holding a paper parasol, head bowed. She could not see the face, but when lightning split the sky, she saw the eyes, staring up at her window. Not accusing, not angry, only unbearably sad, restrained, enduring, like a soul never fully heard. The next morning, the yard was dry, as though no storm had ever touched it. No footprints, no trace. But on her desk lay a strange sheet of yellowed paper, ink-smudged, reading, "I have waited long enough. If you understand, please finish writing for me." From that night, her story changed voice. It was no longer hers, no longer modern prose. It breathed with an older sorrow, tender yet anguished. Memories spilled into each line of a young woman forced into a political marriage who fled on a moonlit night and never returned. Of a hill, a shallow grave dug hastily in rain, a vow betrayed, and a soul buried with the green curtain. The more she wrote, the less she felt herself, as though time in that house flowed differently, as though each page drained her memories, her dreams, her very thoughts. She grew thin, eyes sunken, yet she kept writing, writing as if hypnotized, until one night, under the full moon, she wrote the final line and dropped her pen. Silence, absolute silence. No wind, no insects, no sound remained. The green curtain fell still, no longer moved. The room froze, airless. She looked around. No one there, but she knew something had just left, lightly, like a century-old sorrow finally dissolving into nothingness. The next day, she left the village. She abandoned the old house, the manuscript, the curtain, and the endless nights that devoured time. No one saw her with luggage. Only the shopkeeper recalled. She walked out of the village at dawn, eyes empty, like someone waking from a dream too long. The manuscript arrived at a publisher by post. No author's name, only one line, based on a true story. Since then, the house has remained deserted. The green curtain rotted away. But they say, on moonlit nights, a faint light still flickers in the round window upstairs. And sometimes, very softly, drifts the sound of typing, hidden within the wailing wind. And you, if one night you hear a whisper calling your name in the dark, would you turn around? The following morning, Annie checked the window again. The lock was still latched. No sign it had been opened, but the curtain bore a thin tear as if clawed by fingernails, threads fraying into jagged lines. She stared at it for a long time, then quietly turned away, saying nothing. She placed a vase of lilies on the sill, as though soothing the lingering unease. She could no longer sleep. At night, she sat in the dimly lit living room, typing. The clacking echoed like the heartbeat of the house. But sometimes, when she paused, the typing continued, softer, slower, drifting from upstairs. Each time, she only drew deeply on her cigarette, exhaled smoke into the darkness, and kept writing, as though if she stopped, something would emerge. The manuscript thickened. The heroine, the Cheongsam girl, had no name, no past, only fragments through the male lead's memories. She stood by the window, looking out at the sea, waiting for something that never came. She did not cry, did not smile, only stared with abyssal eyes. The more she wrote, the more Ani felt she wasn't crossing the character, but recording something that had truly happened long ago. One day, she passed the village shop, the only place with a landline. The elderly shopkeeper, half-blind but oddly sharp in memory, grew silent when asked about the house. After a long pause, she whispered, "That house once belonged to a wealthy Chinese family. Their daughter, so beautiful, vanished on a moonlit night. No one ever knew where she went. The room with the green curtain was hers." That night, Ani did not write. She sat in darkness, staring up at the empty room above, as though waiting. Nothing happened, only silence, heavy as a shroud. Until another night, with no moon, no wind, not even crickets. She opened the empty room, sat in her usual corner facing the round window. No lamp, no computer, just her and the swaying curtain. She sat long, eyes closed, and felt someone sit beside her. So close, close enough she could hear breathing, not from lungs, but from the wood, from the dust of time. A cold hand touched her shoulder, not gripping, not pulling, just a touch, light as smoke. She did not panic. She did not turn. She only whispered, "I understand. I will tell your story." From then on, her manuscript was no longer a novel. It was a diary, not hers, but another's. Vivid memories, too real. Some pages smelled of sea salt, ink blurred as though written in rain. She didn't recall writing them. At times, she awoke to find new lines in strange handwriting, delicate, old-fashioned, signed with 2 initials, L.T. No villager bore that name. Yet, whenever she mentioned it, the elders turned away, silent. Once, a child asked her, "You live in the house with the green curtain? At night, someone sings there," before its mother pulled it away, terrified. One morning, she awoke to find the green curtain replaced with a fresh white one, spotless. No one knew who had done it. When she reached to pull it down, a voice drifted from behind her, soft as wind. "Don't change it. Leave it as it is."